as I'm working on these sketches, but even when I was writing it, even when I was just coming up with the concept before writing it, when these things were just thoughts before that I actually decided to go and do all of it. I always wondered how do I want to render these things out, because it's like if I'm gonna take on trying to make a comic book on my own, be the writer, be the artist meaning pencil, inks, colors, words, which that means I'm scripting it. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of work. And as I was like thinking about all that, it was like if I did tackle it, how would I want the artwork to be? Because at that time I'd just been an artist, not a writer, and let's go to this camera and just so you can see my artwork. This book here, man. You know what? Let me start this video over so that way I could talk over it and I don't have to worry about missing anything, because I'm about halfway through it. And like I said, I dig it. Anytime I like something, I could rewatch it anytime. So yeah. So before I even began writing, this book came to mind, where I saw how the artwork was done in here, and I'll flip through it. But this is Arkham Asylum, written by Grant Morrison and Dave McKean. I probably only looked him up one time, and it was probably after I read this and realized he's such a professional. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get a hold of the guy, you can't find him nowhere. And it was like, okay, like you can, but I was just like, all right, I guess this is about as close as I'll ever get to the guy. So yeah, I've read this book maybe a couple times, and I always, when I bought this so long ago, when I first started reading comic books, I was like reading Spawn and so Image Comics, Udon Comics for the Street Fighter, all that stuff. Like that's what comic books were to me in my introduction, was that kind of artwork. Typical comic book artwork is beautiful stuff. And I probably showed it on the stream before. If not, I probably will one day. So because I got all those books here also. But look at the artwork, like in this story, like how the panels are just crazy, and they're all over the place. And even when I read Spawn, like you had wild panels, and like things were wild there also. But then I look at the artwork and I was like, yo, like it's not like a penciler, inker, color, letterer, like it's someone who's doing like, I guess like traditional art pretty much. Maybe it's digital, I don't know, but it looks like traditional art, and it's like cropped, and then each panel has its own thing. But even here, it's like pencil drawings, graphite and stuff like that. But then in these ones, it's like, you know what I mean? It's completely different. It's like, I don't know if this artwork exists, like if these pages exist, or if it's all just separate artwork pieces that got, like, a graphic designer would have had put it together. You know what I mean? And edited it. But it's all this beautiful artwork, and back then when I first read this, all I was reading was Spawn and Street Fighter, it's like look at that Joker. I'm animated series Joker guy. You know what I mean? Like Mark Hamill's voice Joker. The Funhouse Joker. And then you see this, and it's like, whoa. Like, look at Batman. He's just solid black. He's just pointed horns and a cape, and you know what I mean? Like, where it blew my mind to see artwork like this. It's not even like anatomically correct. It's completely stylized. Oh my god. Like but it's cartoonish, but then it's rendered realistically. Like, it blew my mind back then. Like, you know what I mean? Even panels like this, like look how wild this is. Uh, I mean, like, cause look, everything is colored. Looks like like pastels and colored pencils, and a lot of dry medium. But then you have like this ink drawing or pencil drawing. It's probably a pencil drawing that has a little bit of ink in there or something, or it's just graphite. Who knows? But then you have like these letters down here, which are obviously like digitally typed in, but or just like digitally hand drawn in or something like that. But the combination of artwork, like, I guess the reason why I'm going through this and what I'm talking about is like I I remember reading something like this, and it made me believe like, oh, comic book artwork doesn't have to be pencil or ink or color, letter, sound effects guy, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this all looks like a singular effort. Maybe the lettering, and the digital collaging, compositing it all together. You know what I mean? Uh, Maybe that was done separately. Like maybe they had just the traditional. Maybe this McKean guy is just the traditional guy, and then they had, DC has plenty of artists to go ahead and just like, all right, we got this guy's stuff. Let's throw it together. Boom, got a book, sell it, money. You know, or maybe this is all just one person's effort. Like maybe Dave McKean did everything here. You know, and even seeing things like this where it's like the panel breaks. It's not a perfect. You know what I mean? Like, so even when the page is broken down like a comic book, where it's like, yeah, I can see the panels, it's not still not done traditionally. And yeah, man, just seeing stuff like that is beautiful. Like even look at this. It's three panels, but it's all one single image. It's to show action. It's to show movement. It's the director saying, look at this. We're reading this way, but the action is moving that way, and you can feel the collision. You know what I mean? Killer Croc taking out, smacking the shit out of Batman. Uh, yeah, that's another thing. This is actually my favorite part of this whole comic is when Killer Croc fights Batman, because it was the only part that had action, because I was reading Spawn and Street Fighter at the time, so I was like into the punching and the action stuff, and all this Batman stuff, especially this story, is all psychological. Uh, Looking at Killer Croc, like he looks like a snake. You know what I mean? You can't even see his body in here. This could be a close up of a cobra. You know what I mean? And then you see the arm, and then he's lifting him up over his head, and you're like, oh, like Killer Croc. I love this Killer Croc. It's probably the only comic book I have with him in it. Maybe I got another one. I got the 52 run, so it's like he's probably in there somewhere. But I remember reading this, and I always thought about this Killer Croc. And then they released Gotham Knight, the Blu-ray, and well, forget about it. I was gonna pull it up, but Gotham Knight. It was like a anime. DC meets anime. They got 6 anime directors to create a short, and then they compiled those shorts together to try to tell the story. But it was more or less just a bunch of different chapters. You know what I mean? A bunch of different little stories. A series of shorts. Um, there's one of them. Out of the 6, it might be the 4th animation in, and you got this. Damn, which Batman is it? Oh, it's the Batman where when you're watching the commentary, in the beginning, Commissioner Gordon calls in Batman, and he's like in the sewers or something, and Commissioner Gordon's like, Batman, blah, 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 blah. And then Batman just drops in from the ceiling upside down, but the cape don't fall. The cape stays fighting up against gravity, so the cape is going upwards even though he's going down. This is back when Batman Begins and Dark Knight with the Heath Ledger Joker, when all that was going down. That's around that time. And so they had that static electricity cape in those movies. So that's how Batman got the cape to go like that. Um, to see that anime version of him with a cape just don't even fall for gravity. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit was pointed up like this. uh, that episode, I remember the commentary. The director, one of the guys, was just like, "Yeah, his cape got a lot of starch." So stupid. But so that episode, Batman has to go into the sewers. He ends up finding Scarecrow. Scarecrow got like a bunch of zealots, right? But um, he before he runs into Scarecrow, just on the way to him in the sewers, he bumps into Killer Croc. That's my favorite Killer Croc. That Killer Croc, that's number one. He just busts out and it's handled really quick. Like I said, these are shorts. I wish DC did more of this, where they reached out to these anime people and they got the shorts out. Marvel did it recently. Disney did it recently with the Star Wars Visions. It's exactly like that. A series of shorts, except with the Batman Gotham Knight, they almost compiled it into like a story, where it was like the middle story between Batman Begins and Dark Knight. Um, yeah, so that's number one, Killer Croc. But this Killer Croc right here, that's number two for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember being a kid reading this and just even look at this, man. They got this guy cross dressing as his mom or something. Like he's like the Arkham Asylum owner guy went crazy, and and is walking around in his own mom's like wedding dress, or at least he's pretending to be. You got Batman, and this is what's so cool about this story is like it's all just Batman walking through this nightmare with all these creeps, and it's like whoa, even beautiful artwork, man, beautiful panel work. Look at this, it's so cinematic. The coin toss, the thumb, the flip, it's up. Gravity catches it. Lightning strike, because it's a horror. Where's Tim Dillon to be horror? It's like a horror, man. Is Benicio del Toro Wolfman horror? You know what I'm saying? And then the coin flips back down. Two-Face has a beautiful story in this book. I would recommend reading this book just to read it all the way through, and you get the Two-Face story, and it's like, oh, so good. It's so good. But yeah, man. So I looked at books like this one, and that's when I started writing notes and started learning how to write a story. You know what I mean? Like you have to learn how to write a story. Like beginning, middle, and end. You need to start at A, end at B, stuff like that. Things, but it's like how do you write a story? And then you just got to start writing. So I started doing just writing. And the whole time, I'm wishing I'm doing artwork, but I knew that I had to do artwork in order to fit for the writing, and fit for the project itself, and to fit for let me get in proper frame to do everything correctly. You know what I mean? And how I wanted to do it, and I said, you know what? That is so guerrilla. You know what I mean? That's so guerrilla. That graphic novel is so guerrilla that I was like, that's how I would do it. Now I'm not comparing myself to Dave McKean, absolutely not. But I'm saying like that guerrilla tactic of like just attacking the comic, attacking the story, attacking the visual representation of what I'm trying to convey here. I got into that, and then it was only from there that I got into like underground artists, other artists, people that were like kind of making a name, not really, but kind of did. And then that's when I got into Ashley Wood. That's when I got into Jim My Food, whatever his name, you know what I mean, Food One Art. Um, I got into the deviant art scene. That's when I was following all the udon artists, Joe Breen, Dax Gordine, Chamba, uh, damn, so many of them. Joe Ang Lee, uh, all of them. I was into all of them. I had an apprentice. When I got my apprenticeship, I learned about Falcon, who's like one of the SNK artists. I got like a one of his books, and I cherished that thing. Uh, Beautiful black and white arting. But either way, like I got into the underground art scene, not physically, but just as like a surveyor. You know what I mean? As someone who's just like, I'm writing this story. I gotta visually develop it. I'm looking into all these artists who are doing the thing that I want to do. They're working in comics. I tried working in comics. I don't know how many times, but they were doing it. So I said, okay, well, I'm doing it for myself. Um, Thinking about the guerrilla tactics in Batman Arkham Asylum. Thinking about how like Ashley Wood's style is so loose, man. He's the artist who worked on the Metal Gear Solid comic book. Shit, he worked on World War Robots. I'm a huge Ashley Wood fan. Like, cause here was the thing. When I was younger, and I was like into tattoos before I was into comics, and I was into murals and spray painting before tattoos. So I had like the murals and the painting and then the tattoo interest before I got into comics. That's why, guerrilla stuff like this really caught my attention. You know what I mean? Because it looks like artwork that you would bomb on the walls. You know what I'm saying? Like chalk on the walls, the graphite style and all that. You know, um, see, like it was sitting right there. I'm just like, I'll show it to him. So like, that's when I got into like Ashley Wood. He's the guy who worked on this stuff. So you see his style is like mad loose. This is the Metal Gear. I think it just retells the story of the first game, but a little bit more in depth. Maybe it's like the novelization version of it. Some things got cleared up for me reading this one, because I was like, oh, is that what happened in the game? Like, the games be so confusing. But look how loose the artwork is. Now, when I was younger, when I was looking into these artists and learning about this stuff and seeing this, I was studying tattoos and doing like spray painting, and spray painting is so hard to be clean. You know what I mean? Because it's so faded, and if you it's a balance. You know what I mean? You're either gonna end up with drips or you're gonna end up with soft fades and not clarity. You know what I mean? It's the artwork could be unclear, and it's a really good graffiti artist that can like really do that shit. I was all about being clean and having clean artwork and doing everything, and so that way you can like see the lines, because I was like into anime and all that stuff, and everything is like black outlines and stay within the lines and no soft edges and all that stuff. So I was all like extra about being like super clean. But then I'm looking at that gorilla comic and I'm like, yo, being clean is so hard. It's so time consuming. What I was talking about when I was working on this over here. Like just being loose with it and just being like, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like what I'm thinking about doing is like, if I could just do watercolors on waterboard like this, and then just black ink over it, damn. Cause look how fast, 30 minutes I did 2 panels. You know what I mean? There's 12 panels, or 12 panels? Yeah, 12 panels on that page. So what is that? Like a few hours? That's a full day's work to do a page. You know, maybe even bust out 2 pages in a single day. Uh, I mean, no, if we're talking from beginning to end, obviously 1 page a day. But I'm just saying, it's something that I thought about doing as I was writing. Was I might just do artwork and then digitally take that artwork and then panel it accordingly, just like these. You know what I mean? Like, it's not perfect. Even these, you don't see the panel outline. Like, you know what I mean? You don't see the panel outline. There's like just a small thin line. I'm like, I could just do artwork. I could just work on panels. I don't have to work on pages. I could just work on panels and just work on a panel at a time, paint it however I want, and piece it together digitally. That way I don't have to worry about actually piecing the page together. That's something that they used to do back in the day when, you know, they probably still do it now. I don't know. At least if you're working like traditionally and not digitally. If you had mistakes, you would have to like just throw a sheet of paper over it and then draw over that. Kind of like what I do with the sticky notes in my sketchbooks. Like if I mess up on a sketchbook, I'll throw a sticky note and then draw over that. Same concept. They used to have to do that in the comic books, in the artwork and all that. But if I'm not having to worry about putting a page together because I'm not scanning it in and making sure that the page is good, I'm just piecing it together. Let's say in InDesign or Illustrator, and while I'm making the PDFs of telling the story and making my own and publishing my own comics and everything that I'm trying to do here. Check out my Patreon, get some commissions, help a brother out. Yeah, like I could be doing exactly what I'm doing here. I'm working on concept art for the story that I wrote because I wrote a retarded story. So it's yeah, man. That's dangerous thinking right there. To think that I could just ballpoint pen it, watercolor it, black ink it, call it a day, and then just take pictures, put it together in InDesign, make it look like some of these books that I just showed you here, like Batman Arkham Asylum or this Metal Gear Solid, done by Ashley Wood and others, of course. Man, that's what I'm talking about. Like when I was just talking, as I was working on the work. Let me drop this. There we go. Man, my desk is a mess. All right, but that's what I was talking about when I was talking about Here we go. Oh wow. In the last stream, I just hooked something up. In the last stream, I was talking about I might be able to do my tablet art on stream. Might be able to test that out later. I'm gonna continue inking this though, for now, cause yeah, I really been looking forward to inking the faces, and I'm really having a lot of fun with this with this stream right now. So yeah, man, let's just pick up where we left off. We did 30 minutes. Oh wow, so did I just talk for 30 minutes? Oh jeez, I'm sorry.